Sherwood Island, we've been doing a study looking at marsh migration. So the salt marsh at Sherwood Island and elsewhere is facing sea level rise at a rate that's higher than it's seen in several millennia. And on the one hand, that poses sort of a threat at the seaward edge of drowning, of getting too wet, but it also poses an opportunity at the landward edge to migrate into adjacent uplands that are now getting wetter and wetter over time and sort of create new habitat for the marsh to colonize. So that's what we've been looking at. We've been trying to understand that process of migration and how it's affected by the conditions at the upland edge, how it's affected by the slope of the land, how it's affected by the land use, how it's affected by whether there are trees or grass. So what we see pretty clearly as you go from the marsh to the upland is the salinity goes down, and the plant species kind of change in response to that change in salinity. The interesting thing at Sherwood Island is that some of the salty areas that are sort of marsh by almost any definition are actually mowed, and they look like lawn. They're part of the model airplane field. I think the average person visiting the site, the average park manager there, thinks of that as regular lawn habitat, but it's clearly got marsh salinity and marsh plants. So we think that's something that has clearly changed over the last few decades. So I think people are not that aware on the Connecticut coast that the landscape is changing. That border between water, between the ocean and the land is changing pretty rapidly over time, and it's going to continue to change. If we care about our marshes and want them to survive, in some sense their future lies in that migration. Their future lies in moving up with sea level rise. So how we manage that transition, to me, is really important. These mowed areas are great targets, and if we can get people to stop mowing areas that they have been mowing and allow the marsh to come in, that would create an opportunity for marshes to thrive at that upland edge. So salt marshes are valuable habitat for invertebrates, for fish, for birds. They're often called a fish nursery because a lot of species of fish spend some time there when they're young before going out to the larger estuary. The salt marshes provide food and protection from predators. And they're also beautiful environments. They're recreationally very valuable for people. And we've lost a lot of salt marshes through filling and dredging over the last 150 years. And now there's sort of this new threat, relatively new threat, which is sea level rise. We successfully protected our marshes from direct impacts of modification of building marinas and docks and filling those areas. But we have a harder time clearly protecting them from sea level rise. It's a much larger problem that we can't manage at the state level.